Welcome to the Two Old Kids and Two Young Adults podcast. We've combined life experience with young adult drive and ambition. Are you just starting to college plan? Did you finish your education and wonder, now what? Join us in this lively discussion about the topics you need to know to create the next stage of your life's dreams, careers, finances, education, and more. Welcome to Two Old Kids and Two Young Adults podcast. And tonight we get the girl group. This is a lot of fun because Capri and I have an amazing guest with us, and it's Lady Power. We've got Shanti Hershenson. I'm glad I said that right. Shanti Hershenson. We are so excited to have you. And I have to tee this up a little bit because I am like a geek fan already. She is another young adult here with us today. She's in high school. She's a freshman, but we get to hear about how she has already published multiple books and started her entrepreneur journey. She's doing interviews. We are so excited that we actually got her today and that I didn't have to go through her people yet. So welcome to being on Two Old Kids and Two Young Adults. Shanti, Capri, and I are so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always.
All right, Capri, do you want to kick this off first?
Of course. So I just learned today that you are an author of multiple books. Do you want to kind of tell us a little bit about how you got your start in writing and a little more about your story?
So I have to say I've always been really interested in writing. However, I didn't exactly pursue it. I'd had these writing projects when I was in like fourth grade. They were all on paper, and I didn't think like publishing and just writing actually a full completed novel was something I could ever do. And then I was in sixth grade and the pandemic hit, and I had nothing to do. I was at home, I was bored, I was completely isolated. I didn't have many friends that I could actually talk to because I just moved schools. That was a whole thing, and then pandemic. So what I ended up doing was I decided to write a book. If I was going to be at home for so long, because I didn't know when the pandemic was going to end at that point, and when I was just going to be able to go back to school, so I wanted to make something of it, and that's what I ended up doing. My first novel was Biome Walk. It really was a pandemic novel. The characters are isolated. There's a lot of kind of the things that the characters feel are similar to what I was feeling during that time. And actually, the first draft of that novel was 250,000 words and 800 pages, which is way too long to publish.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I ended up actually splitting into 3 books, and I wrote the 4th book the summer after, but the 4th book is almost like a spin-off.
What was that process like for you as you started to dive in? Because I wrote my first book during the pandemic as well. And for me, because I talk for a living, sitting down and putting pen to paper was like ripping my molars out. And I had to really walk a process and focus and do 10-minute bursts. What was your writing process, and how was that for you to really focus on that?
It took a long time to develop the process that I'm still kind of keeping now. Originally, I would spend all day on TikTok and then was like, hey, I'm writing a book, I should go write my book. And then I would put on a Star Wars movie and write for the duration of the movie, and then just stop writing after that. It was really unhealthy. And I was up to like 2 in the morning every night too. It was ridiculous. Okay, so I ended up, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I can't even do my homework for more than 50 minutes at a time. Like, I can't imagine writing for a 2-hour movie and like having the sensory or the auditory input. Like, that's insane to me.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't know how much I ended up writing, but what I actually found was it was easier to put on music. So then I would go to the park and I would just write in silence or with music at the park. And I don't remember how much I would write, but it didn't feel like enough. And then I realized I actually need to just stick to a word count. And that word count I picked was 1,000 words. And I was going to do 1,000 words every day. The first few days were pretty rough. However, once I got the hang of it, it was really hard not to write. And I still write 1,000 words every day. Over the summer, I write more. Sometimes it's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, but 1,000 words on school days is usually what I do.
Do you feel like, does the story evolve as you start writing, or do you already know where you want the story to go and it's just flowing out of you? Or is it kind of creating itself as you go along?
Somewhere in between. Often, and this is not with all my books, I will have at least a little idea for how I want it to end or like what's going to happen in the story. Sometimes I had one book, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what would happen on the next page. I just kept writing. It was literally like that book was writing itself. It was an insane feeling, and I just completely winged the entire thing. Other books, there was a book, it's a villain origin story. It's not out yet. I don't know when it's going to be out. It's one of my books I don't really pay attention to in terms of like needing editing, but I had basically the entire story planned out. There were things that happened in between main scenes, but it's like a villain origin story, and the story's already told in the published book. So I had to follow that really strictly. And still what I found is it was very different than what actually happened. But that one, like everything, it was harder to write actually because everything was planned out.
Wow. Capri, I know you've got questions. I'm holding back.
So intrigued by this. Also, 1,000 words a day. Okay, so do you handwrite or type?
I cannot handwrite for the life of me.
Okay, I totally get that. So, how many like pages about is 1,000 words?
It kind of depends on. So the standard text size when you're writing a novel, it would be 12-point font and then double space and then Times New Roman. I might be wrong. It's around 6 pages, 7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Might be more than that. I have to check at some point.
Incredible. Okay, that like definitely helps conceptualize that for me. So thank you so much. Okay, so now a little bit more like on the publishing side. How do you do that? Are you self-published? Do you work with editors? And what, like, give us a little more about your team, because that, like, I can imagine being that young and working with such large professionals.
So I self-publish, but I do work with professionals a lot. I have a writing coach who helps me edit my books and just make sure there are no plot holes, mainly just like proofreading and stuff. And then I work with cover designers. I do all of that myself, and I reach out to people. It's difficult. I have to keep on track of cover designs. It's a whole thing, but it's not actually. I think it would be harder if I had another person actually keeping track of it, because I like to be in the loop about what's going on.
I love her. That's me. That entrepreneurial spirit already there. You want to know every bit about your business and how it comes together. Have you had a hard time with some of the professionals you're reaching out to for support taking you seriously as a young female professional?
All the time. I remember really early on, I had written a children's book. I don't count it as any of the books I've written because it was just like 800 words. It was going to be like a picture book. I'll have to check at some point. I think I was 12 years old. I might have been 13. And I said, hey, would you be interested in illustrating my book? I have full parental consent to do this. I love your illustrations. And it was like on a website. It was on a marketplace website. I didn't just send like a cold email. They said no, and that they would not because I was too young.
Unbelievable.
I've had also, I have to say, not really professionals, but like readers at in-person events. So, like I did the San Diego Festival of Books. It was wonderful.
Oh, I love it.
But I had some people. I did a podcast a few hours ago, and I talked about this too. I had a couple, mainly like older people. They came up to me and they would just grill me with these questions, and I answered every one of them. But they for 20 minutes they would take people away from my booth, because they would just come up, more than one person, and just start grilling me on different things about like the writing process, and just like it seemed like trivia questions. Like I know they genuinely weren't interested in advice, because they were like, so where do you publish your books? Do you have an editor? Do you like outline your books beforehand? And then they didn't even buy the book.
Oh, geez.
Just start telling them to listen to your many, many podcasts. Just be like, hey, I have it all here. I bet you could listen. That's like insane. Do they not like think that you're the actual writer or something, do you think? Or do you think that it's just like disbelief?
I've had a lot of people, both on the internet and in person, accuse me of like hiring ghostwriters or having like someone else write my books for me. No, it's all me. I literally have offered to write in front of people just to show it's the same writing.
Yeah.
And then to add on to the people who came up and grilled me, they walked away by saying, aren't you a little too young to have written this many books?
Aren't you too old to be asking that question?
Yeah.
That would be what I say. It's mind-boggling to me, but as a woman who's pushed a stone uphill in business for a lot of years, Shanti, and I just commend you on already facing this and speaking your truth and standing in your own business model and saying, no, this is what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And really showing that confidence to be taken seriously, because you will be. I've been joking for years here. I'm, older. My daughter's and my youngest is now starting college. And I always say that I'm finally old enough to be taken seriously and young enough to still take action. I feel like it took me to be almost 50 before I've been taken seriously as a woman. So I know what you're facing and going through. And I am so impressed with your mindset and your abilities and your attitude towards it already, because you're going to be that pioneer that starts changing this narrative for all the other women coming beside you, behind you, that are in front of you, that haven't started the journey so young as you have. And I'm just so impressed with where your mind is at and what your skills already are and how you're visualizing this, let alone the writing skills, your business skills, and your mindset is just stellar. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
On this like idea of just kind of like forward thinking and future and like building yourself up as you go, do you have advice for your future self? And I heard this on a podcast the other day, because usually people say, oh, do you have advice for like your high school self or blah, blah, blah. And it's generally the people on the podcast are in their 20s, so their high school self isn't that far away. But it was asked to your future self, because you still have a lot of like so much of your life ahead of you. And I think that was a really interesting way to ask that. So I'm going to turn it to you.
I think definitely, this is going to be, because it's soon I'm going to start querying for agents, and there's going to be a lot more probably rejection. And, maybe in like 10, 20 years, film adaptations, all this crazy stuff. So don't let one rejection bring you down.
Right. And
don't let one person's opinion change how you feel about yourself and your body of work. Oh my goodness. I have to say, that's advice that I have for myself now. There was an award that I wanted to win. And I was like, sure, I was going to win it. And then they just completely blew me off. So
I just want to hug you through the computer screen right now, because I work with professionals of all ages, industries, and there's a lot of very professional and matured adults out there that don't have that wisdom that you just gave about not being worried about rejection, staying true to yourself, because rejection's amazing. I love no. My favorite mentor teaches the 25 no philosophy, that if you knew that what you wanted, you were going to get after 25 no's, that you were finally going to get a yes. Wouldn't you be excited at no 19, 20, 21? Like, yes, it's almost here, because that really is what takes place. And for you to be willing to say, that's fine, bring it on, because you know that you're building these steps up ahead and using tools in your tool belt, and it leads you, it pushes you to where you're going, which you've already started so young. How has these skills transcended over to how you're handling your academics? So with your schoolwork, your schedule, you've already got such great timing and mental game on how you manage yourself and your time and your writing. How are you noticing that that's evolved to scholastically to how you're doing in your studies?
So I think over the pandemic, I think a lot of people, including myself, really lost time management skills. I mean, I was in 6th grade when the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And already I didn't have to worry about a lot of homework. So then once we got out of the pandemic, and then there was 8th grade and now 9th grade, I had a lot to learn.
Yes.
What I realized is balancing school and writing is extremely important. And I'm really good about keeping on top of my writing for the day. And I had to learn about how to do the same for schoolwork. And, I also do marketing and editing and all of this. And what I would do is I would create a list of all the things I needed to do and how long I thought it would take. And then I would try to figure out which to knock off first. If I add schoolwork to that list, it's a little longer, but sometimes, I don't have as much work. And then I can just do that and just basically treat schoolwork as though it's the same as my writing. Though often I prioritize my writing over my schoolwork, but I still have good grades, so it all works out.
Capri, do you think that I think that you're going to have your friends wanting to help you with their college essays? In a couple of years, you're going to be facing this as you get ready. I have a feeling you're going to be saying, excuse me, I'm going to handle my own stuff.
Yeah. You are on such a good track. Do you find that using kind of on the time management part, do you use like writing time as a reward? Because I know like personally, like if I have a big assignment coming up and I don't want to do it, I'll use reading time as a reward. Oh, if I finish my homework before 10, then I can read for 30 minutes.
Occasionally I do. It kind of depends on the assignment. Like right now, things are pretty good. I'm usually good about knocking things out, unless it's math. Then it'll be like 10 o'clock. And be like, oh my gosh. I have math homework. But often I think using writing as an award, it can be really good as long as I'm still getting those 1,000 words in. I've also started writing during homeroom because we have like 25 minutes of homeroom, 30 minutes. So if I can write during then I only have to write, say, 30 minutes because it usually takes me an hour to write 1,000 words.
Wow. No way. I'm sorry. I cannot fathom. That is so cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What other studies do you enjoy besides the writing in school right now? What other subjects are intriguing you and you feel like influencing as you are evolving, even in your own craft as a writer?
Mm-hmm. So I have in my school, we have these tech rotations and it's different. Like, I guess it's not really a study, but it rotates and it's like different kind of things. So we have like video editing, video production. I think we have wood shop and then we're doing theater tech next. All of that's really interesting because I can kind of get these experiences that I can then apply to my books. For example, I know how to carve a spoon out of a block of wood now.
Wow.
I wasn't very good at it, but I know like things like that I can actually use with my books. And then I don't actually have to Google how to carve a spoon out of wood if I want to make it accurate.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that entering high school has changed maybe like the style of your writing a little bit or like the topics you write about, or has it been constant throughout?
So the book I'm working on now, which is the first book I've started since I began high school, because I finished one like right when high school started. But anyway, so my first book of the year, basically, I consider it, is a high fantasy novel. And that's something I've never done before. I don't know why it is, but now that I'm not in middle school, I don't feel the like craving to write dystopian novels much. I used to write like all the books I wrote in middle school were dystopian novels. I love them. I had the very middle school dystopian phase. Just instead of reading it obsessively, I was writing it. So now I'm moving on to like fantasy and some romance and things like that.
Awesome.
I know you probably can't say which one, but you have to have probably one or two that are your favorites. That you're like, I'm so glad I wrote that one. This one's my favorite.
Okay. Never Dying and You Won't Know Her Name Without a Doubt.
Tell us why.
So Never Dying is my second most popular book, and You Won't Know Her Name is my first most popular book. They're complete. That reminds me, I have an interview to do, like just a written interview, and it's like, are there any similarities between Never Dying and You Won't Know Her Name? Absolutely not. Never Dying is this like enemies to lovers dystopian novel. It's so much fun. It was amazing to write, and I was able to get a lot of the videos to blow up on TikTok. So I have more readers for that book than probably all of my other books, except for You Won't Know Her Name. You Won't Know Her Name is a novel told in poetry, and it's like based on a true story. I published that one in the summer between 7th and 8th grade. It is my most popular book still. It's been over a year, and it's hard to find a book that will do better than it. However, Never Dying is very much on track to be that book.
That is so great. I can't wait to get them. I'm seriously going to buy all your books because I'm going to be one of your fans out here saying, way to go. I love this. So impressed. Do you have an experience or an occasion where you know that you've just inspired another young writer because they've heard your story, or you've been able to say, oh my gosh, now they're doing it too? Because I can imagine how many people you're inspiring.
So there are a lot of people. I get a lot of TikTok comments like, oh my gosh, you inspired me to write my book. Oh my gosh, I love your videos. And I have people, approach me like in person, like at events and stuff. And I'll have people even like personally like reach out to me on social media. So like all of those people. There are also some people that have reached out to me with like needing help with publishing and things. And then to see them actually publish their book and to see it on Amazon is so cool.
Isn't that just rewarding?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, they did it. Look what you started.
Yeah.
That's so incredible. Do you do all your own advertising for your books? Because I've heard you like talk about TikTok a couple times, and I know how valuable of a tool it can be and whatnot. So
I do all my own marketing. So I do TikTok, I book podcasts, I make social media posts, and I run advertisements. Mm-hmm. So I definitely do all my own marketing. TikTok is honestly my favorite. I'm 300 followers away from 40,000. And
wow.
It's such an amazing platform for promoting things, especially books, because you can kind of, I just bumped my headphones.
You can take Shanti on as my PR representation. If you have any spare time, I can use your help.
And so you can like connect with your audience and you can interact with them. It's, I think, honestly, the easiest way to actually like blow up is just respond to all your comments.
Yes.
And that like increases your following, because if you respond to a comment, people are way more likely to follow, at least in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah. Engagement.
I so agree with that.
Wow.
Thanks.
How fun is she? See, now we know when Capri comes home from college for a visit, we're going to have to go meet you. We're going to have to meet you and hug you, and then you can sign our books. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. I'm so down.
Seriously,
right now.
For everybody following and watching, this is so amazing because we were connected by the beautiful power of this amazing digital world that we have. We were connected through another Podmatch host, a podcast host, and I was like, oh, we have to have her on 2OK2YA, and then find out that she lives 10 minutes from Capri and I, except when Capri's at Purdue. So this is just really fun to know that you're one of us here in San Diego. I'm so proud, but you are blessing lives across the nation. If you don't mind, would you share just a tidbit about just your life and with your family? Or you have siblings? How is this integrated into your family?
So I have a twin sister, and we live with our parents, of course. And I've never not had a cat. That's important to mention because earlier on in my writing, I would always write about my cats. They were like my muse. Like all of the books I wrote, like not really the little books I made on paper, all about my cats. I currently have 2 cats named Apollo and Eclipse, and we got them on my birthday 2 years ago. They are absolutely adorable. I feel like Eclipse might be in here somewhere, but I'm not sure.
I love my cat too, so I'm right there with you. Oh, that's awesome. And a twin.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you guys similar in some of your interests, or are you polar opposite?
We're very much different. My sister she does aerial silks, which is very difficult. I could never. And then she is really into art. I guess writing is kind of an art in a way, but it's different. She makes jewelry and does paintings.
Oh, that is so great. What are you and your sister both looking forward to as far as high school coming up? And then you're going to blink and you're going to be doing your college apps and it's around the corner. What do you see ahead for yourself? I know that's kind of hard here at freshman year, but I know they're talking about it a lot at this stage in high school. What are you looking forward to?
For high school? I mean, my homecoming is on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome.
More distantly, I'm looking forward to like AP classes. Currently, the only accelerated classes I'm in is honors English. And I'm looking forward because my school, we do a lot of very kind of niche classes. So, like guitar making is a class. I kind of want to take it. And then there's the history of rock and roll, which looks pretty fun. So I'm really looking forward to taking more electives. This semester, I'm not taking any electives. But next semester, I'm doing both creative writing and journalism side by side. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I have no doubts you're going to stay in writing and journalism probably all the way through. Is there another subject though that you think about with college that intrigues you, that you're like, oh, maybe I really want to study in this as well?
I think marketing might be very interesting because then I can market my books. Also, psychology might be really cool. I used to want to be a social worker, but I'm not sure I want to do that anymore.
There's a lot of great choices.
Yeah. I so agree. I know that's like one of the toughest things. I'm in college and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't made my schedule for next semester and there's like 500 classes and 490 sound interesting to me. Like, how do I take them all? But it's all right. If I had a rock and roll history class in high school, you best believe I would have taken that. That's so fun. So awesome.
Shanti, what advice do you have for other young writers that are afraid to take that chance?
Definitely don't worry about what other people are going to think, and don't worry that your book is bad or needs something. Just write and get the words out however you can. Editing and whether or not your book is good or not is a problem for the second draft, not the first. And you can always edit, you can always rewrite. Once you finish the book, it's not set in stone. You're okay. And also try to build a habit. I like writing 1,000 words a day, but some people may only be able to write 500 or 100, and that's absolutely fine. I just think writing the same amount each day really tricks your brain into getting that habit, and that's super important.
Yeah. So much of what we do is a habit. That's awesome.
Capri, what do you think? Don't you wish we had known her sooner before you left?
I know. You're so great. I have one kind of final question about, so your book writing, I think that it probably took a lot of courage to reach out to all these people. Have you seen like your confidence and your personality kind of change or like become a little more outgoing? Because I like with starting the podcast, I've definitely seen that like in myself.
I've watched you go, Capri, for sure.
Definitely doing podcasts, I've gotten way more comfortable with like talking to adults and really just communicating with people. I gotta say, in elementary school and middle school, a lot of teachers were just, I went to private school for elementary school, and preparatory school can be really rough, and the teachers often can be very mean to the students, and they can get away with a lot more. So I like, we had teachers who would use to like yell at the entire class, and it made me absolutely terrified to talk to adults. And I feel like now that I've done podcasts, it's a lot easier to do.
Because we all love you here in the podcast world.
Thanks.
And Shanti, I'm telling you, I see a future for you as a podcast host. Because
I really want
you
to.
are so well spoken and so
Sure.
comfortable. And actually, we're going to keep you in the queue to maybe come in and guest host in this with us once in a while, if you're open to it.
Oh, sure. That would be wonderful.
Because you're fantastic. Capri, I
Thank
know I
you.
just spoke for all of us, but I think you would agree.
Y'all share the same thoughts.
Yes, completely. Shanti, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. Congratulations on your success, on what you're already doing. I have no doubts we're going to hear nothing but great things for you up ahead. And you've got a network here. We are here as family to you as well for resources and advice, and just to keep you inspired and motivated. And thank you for everyone that you're inspiring and motivating every day with who you are and with your books.
Thank you so much.
With that, I think I have the easiest question of the night for you. Where can people follow you and find your books?
So you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and I mean, I have Twitter. I don't use it. No one needs to know my Twitter. There's nothing important on there. My TikTok is at Shanti Who Writes, and my Instagram is just at Shanti Hershenson. My website, where you can find links to my books and everything like that, is shantihershenson.com. That's ShantiHershenson.com. My books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, basically everywhere you buy books online, and they're also available in store in some stores, probably a lot in San Diego. Also, I have people reach out to me and say they found them in like this store, so just take a look. You might find them.
And we will have all those links in all of the in the comments and the information on the show for this episode.
Okay.
Can't wait to add them to the cart tonight.
Take us home, Capri.
So there you have it. Shanti Hershenson, thank you so much for joining us. You have such a bright future ahead of you. And to all our listeners, give her website and her TikTok a look, because you will not be disappointed in the slightest. And I just can't wait to see all the rest of the wonderful books you will write for us. So thank you so much for coming on, and thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Two Old Kids and Two Young Adults. We'll see you next time.
Make sure and subscribe to this show so you don't miss the next episode of Two Old Kids and Two Young Adults podcast. We want to hear from you as well. You can email us at 2ok2ya@gmail.com.